Hi, Kadisha. How are you today?
Hi, I'm doing good. How are you?
Good, good. So how has everything been going since the last time we met? It was a couple weeks ago now.
Things are going a little bit better. I'm still like a little hesitant about stuff, but I've been taking kind of some of your suggestions, and I feel a little bit more confident.
Good, good. That's so great to hear. So I was thinking today we can kind of start looking at some of those documents and different things that I was talking about that'll maybe give you a better idea of what direction that you're really going to start moving into, because we definitely want to start getting that ball rolling. Does that sound okay for today?
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
Okay, great. So the first thing I think we can talk about is just, we had, in our last session, we talked a little bit about maybe trying to get a little bit more involved on campus. I know you said that a concern of yours was that maybe moving away from the engineering major would kind of make you feel disconnected from those friends that you made there. So have you done anything to get involved a little more on campus since the last time we met?
I have. I checked out a few different like clubs and organizations, but I went to a meeting at the Marine Science Club, and I found that like I really liked it, so I joined it, and I've been meeting a lot of new people that are in it, so that's been like really exciting.
Great. So what have you learned in that club? What exactly about marine science has seemed to catch your interest?
I think it just works really well with already what I'm interested in.
Right.
I've always really liked animals, and it really incorporates science too. And I found that speaking with a lot of other people that have been in it for a longer time, that a lot of their interests are similar to mine, which makes me feel more like comfortable, like being there.
That's great. So you kind of feel like you're starting to make connections outside of that engineering world, so to speak.
Yeah, which is really nice, because that like really like made me nervous that I wasn't gonna find like new friends or find anything else that was outside of that whole world. But now that I see that other people are, you know, still doing something that matters, but at the same time we're still really interested in it, it makes me feel more confident of pushing away from the engineering like track.
Well, that's great. It seems like you're definitely getting to be at a better place with all of that.
I am.
Have you talked to any of your friends, you know, from those engineering classes and those friends you created? Have you talked to any of them about anything that's been going on, that you started joining clubs or doing different things?
Not yet. I've kind of kept it under wraps for right now, just so that way I can feel like I can be secure in my decision before saying anything, so that way anything that they say to me doesn't like really like jolt like my choices.
Sway you in any way. Great. So you're more working on making sure that this is the direction you want to take before you kind of start talking to people about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, great. So what I was thinking that we could kind of go through now is to just kind of hit some of those small goals that we talked about to kind of reach us to that point of choosing that major. So the first thing I think we can look at is, we'll hold off on that. The first thing, we have our major discovery series. So basically we have one of these for every major that we offer at the university. So basically, I'll just explain a little bit about the layout of it. So basically what it is, it tells you what the major is. It gives you a little blurb about the major. It gives you some related skills, values, qualities, different things that people that generally go into that major kind of possess. Talks about the specific courses that people in that major usually take. So I did grab that marine science and biology for you, because I know you had mentioned in our last session that those were ones that interest you. So it also gives you some sample career titles of people that go into that major and some internship sites. So I think these are going to be a really good place for you to kind of start and look to make sure and kind of validate those feelings and what you're thinking about these different majors. So I thought something that we could do today would just be to kind of look at some of those sample career titles, and just initially any ones that you really think could just kind of jump out at you. Just kind of look through that and tell me which ones seem to interest you right away.
Marine biologist seems really cool.
I know there's a lot.
I know, there's so many to go
there
through.
Is. And this is just a small sampling of career titles. So it's and like I said, it's just a really good way for you to be able to kind of see what's out there, because there's so many different directions you can take.
Yeah, I think I really like even like looking at like botanist and being an animal scientist. That's kind of cool, because that incorporates like my love of animals as well as like the biology too, and like the sciences.
Right.
Molecular biology. That's all cool. That sounds really cool.
Okay, great. So I think now one thing that you can do when you leave today, another action item is and I'll give you these when you leave. So you can kind of go through both of these and look at those different titles. And what I want you to do is just go through and initially circle any ones that just even sound interesting. Even if you're not entirely sure what they're about, that's a really great way for you to kind of go with your gut. So I think what you can definitely do is circle some of those ones that are of interest to you. And then there's 2 websites on the bottom of this sheet. And they're great resources for you to be able to look through those careers and look at more salary, you look for training required, day-to-day responsibilities, different things that they do. So it's a really great place for you to kind of see what options are out there for you. And I think that's really going to help you narrow down your search for major and figure out what it is that you want to do.
Cool, that sounds awesome.
Does that sound like something that we can do? So then with our next appointment, we can go through all of that stuff. The other thing that I wanted to kind of go through with you, and of course this is something that I can't do as far as telling you which classes that you've already taken that are going to kind of relate. But I think something that we can do is just kind of go through some of these courses that you would have to take for marine science to see. It gives you a good list of what you'd be taking, and then this way you can go on the website and you can actually read those course descriptions and see if those courses actually sound interesting to you.
That sounds cool.
So again, I think that's something maybe if you want to do and take that back with you the next time so we don't waste time doing too much of that, give you something to kind of do and bring back with you. But you could see, I mean, you have marine biology, you have physical oceanography, so a lot of those really specific classes that may be of a lot of interest to you. So that again is something else that we can work on.
Awesome.
Okay?
That sounds really cool.
Alrighty. So the next thing, I just wanted to see how you were feeling about talking to your parents at this point. I know you, before in one of our sessions, you had talked about how you were a little bit nervous about speaking with them about this because they really are kind of pressuring you to move in that direction of engineering. So how are you coping with that? How are you feeling about that situation?
I definitely feel like a little bit nervous about it just because I don't want them to, they are paying for my education,
Right.
so I don't want that to be like a major factor for them to go, well, I won't pay for it anymore
Right.
if you change that or anything like that. But the more I think about it and the more like you tell me things about it, and ever since joining the club, I feel a lot more confident and more solidified in like moving towards this path. So I think eventually I'll have to have a conversation with them.
Right.
But it's just, I think, finding the right words to use and being able to like work over the nerves to be able to confront it.
Absolutely. And I completely understand that. And it is very nerve-wracking. And like you said, I mean, your parents are paying for your education, so that obviously weighs on the decision for you as well. But I was thinking an activity, something that we could do today would maybe be to try a role play. So I could pretend to be a parent or someone that you would be talking to about the situation, and you can try to figure out what you would feel comfortable saying to them. Would that be something that you would be interested in trying to do?
I think that would actually be like really good because then I can get out a little bit of like my jittery nerves, so that way when I do talk to them, I would be a little bit more prepared for whether it goes good or bad.
Right. And I think that's something that we can do today. And if it doesn't go exactly the way you want it to go, or you feel like you still want to kind of work on that and practice that, we could do that again at our next session and kind of try it again and try different things to kind of find where your comfort is and how you can do that.
I think that sounds really cool.
All right. So then we'll jump right into it. So you just pretend that I'm...
Perfect. I'll actually like see if you could be like my mom because she's the one I'm more concerned about.
Okay.
So if you can play her role, and that would be cool.
Okay. Sounds great.
Perfect.
All right.
So Mom, I've been thinking a lot about things that are going on in school, and I know that I'm doing really good in my classes and that you and Dad really value engineering, but I just don't know if that's for me.
Well, I mean, what about it don't you like? I mean, we've always talked about engineering, and it seemed like something you were interested in. What's the sudden change?
I think that I was so interested in it because it's all I've ever been around. So like now that I'm in college, I've been exposed to different things and just been finding out different things that I like and finding out more possibilities that I didn't even know existed.
Okay, well, I don't really know how comfortable I am with you thinking about changing or going to something else, but I mean, what other things are you interested in? What things have you been, talking about, or different majors and stuff that you've been thinking about at school?
Well, you know that I've always loved animals and I've always kind of been around them.
That's true.
And that's something that I've always wanted to kind of work with. And I always did it as a hobby, but I never knew that I can incorporate it in anything else. And I'm really good at science and math, which I think that I can still, like, be able to incorporate too. So I've been looking at doing like marine science or looking at doing biology with maybe like something with a concentration in animals. But I think both of those options would be like really good ones for me.
Okay, and have you figured out how that's going to play into the courses you've already taken and stuff like that?
Yeah, a lot of them are just because I'm not so far into anything because I'm still undeclared. So a lot of them can fall within like my electives and major courses that they can transfer over. So it's not like I would be retaking a whole lot of things. I would just start taking like the major classes of that.
Well, it definitely sounds like this is something that you've been thinking about and that you've been talking to people about and getting a lot of real information. So I definitely think this is something that, we could talk about more with your father and definitely figure this out with you.
Okay, that sounds really awesome.
Okay, so that's one way it could go, right? How did you feel about doing that? I mean, I know it's different because I obviously don't know exactly how one of your parents would react, but did that make you feel comfortable just kind of getting it out there, talking about it?
I mean, it definitely makes me feel like more confident that I could have a conversation, and just because I know that this is what I want to do, it makes me feel like even if I were to get a bad reaction from them, that I could try to soften them up to it versus just being totally like, okay, I'll just go back to what I was doing. And yeah, and I think that honestly, like, my mom and my dad are both like huge support systems in my life, and like when I look at it, there's really never a time that they've ever said like, no, you can't do this. So I think it's more of like in my own head,
Yeah.
that like I would disappoint them. But honestly, if I would sit and talk to them, it may take some warming up to do, and they may be like against it in the beginning. But I think that eventually they would like let me do what I want to do.
Well, that's great. It seems like you're definitely moving in the right direction. So yeah, I think we're doing well.
Perfect.